Hi aspirants, welcome once again to my lecture. In my lecture number 19, I will discuss new topic, Governance of GS Mains Paper 2. This lecture will broadly cover concepts of governance, difference between government and governance, the World Bank prescription on good governance, features of good governance in accordance with international organizations, political governance, economic governance, civil governance, elements of good governance, and forms of good governance. This topic has been chosen as aspiring civil servants should understand the concept of governance and its basics. This topic is crucial as it will help the aspirants to grasp the basics of governance well and go beyond in getting transformed into agile and proficient civil servants. Governance is the process of number 1, decision making. Number 2, decision implementation or non-implementation in the context of government-citizen relationship. There are two types of governance. Global governance, which relates to international affairs. Corporate governance, which relates to market. Governance is the complex process of number 1, delivery. Number 2, regulation. Number 3, multiple actors as stakeholders. Number 4, complex web of expectations, responsibilities, and obligations that binds actors together. Number 5, goal and aspirations meeting point. Governance is related to number 1, how a government should work. Number 2, what policy goal should be followed. Number 3, how government functionaries should conduct their duty and responsibilities. Number 4, how civil society and citizens should behave. Now, I will discuss about chief aspects of governance. The major points in the chief aspects of governance are as follows. Number 1, accountability to citizens. Number 2, commitment to policy goals. Number 3, citizen involvement. Number 4, fighting corruption. Number 5, effective leadership. Number 6, public transparency. Number 7, efficiency. Now, I move to the next topic, that is the key difference between government and governance. Government. Number 1, government is the structure which enables and facilitates the process of governance. Governance. Governance is the process whereby various actors work for the welfare of the good. Number 2, it is the machinery and an organ which wields power of the state. It includes the executive, legislature, and the judiciary. Governance. It is carried out by various entities, including the state and other institutions existing outside of it, which includes the civil society, NGO. Number 3, government. It is a formal setup which interacts within itself and outside of it. Governance. Though it evolves out of the formal setup of the state, it expands the scope of government and also intensifies the service delivery provided. Now, I move to the next topic, that is origin of the concept of good governance. In the 1989 World Bank study, Sub-Saharan Africa from Crisis to Sustainable Growth, scrutinized the development problems in Sub-Saharan Africa. For the first time, the term governance was used to define the need for greater institutional reform and a better and more efficient public sector in these countries. The concept of governance got further developed in the World Bank 1992 publication, Governance and Development, and the term governance was defined as the way in which power is used in the management of a country's social and economic resources for the process of development. In other words, it might be said governance is the exercise of economic, political, and administrative authority to manage a country's affairs at all levels. It comprises the mechanisms, processes, and institutions through which citizens and groups articulate their interest, exercise their legal rights, meet their obligations, and mediate their differences. Now, I move to the next topic, the World Bank prescription for good governance. The third world countries who got the development aid and assistance from the Western countries had coined the concept of good governance. This concept was officially highlighted in 1989 in a document from World Bank on the context of sub-Saharan countries of Africa. It identified 4 dimensions of good governance. These 4 dimensions are: number 1, public sector management; number 2, accountability; number 3, legal framework for development; number 4, information and transparency. In 1992, the World Bank published a document titled Governance and Development. It has identified 3 vital aspects of governance. The first aspect of governance is the form of political regime exercised, parliamentary or presidential, military or civilian, and dictatorship or democratic. Number 2, the process by which authority is exercised in the management of the country's economic, political, and social spheres, and the limit to which the citizens are involved and given responsibility. Number 3, the capacity of the government to design, formulate, and implement policies, and in general to discharge government functions. In short, good governance according to World Bank consists of: number 1, political accountability; number 2, regular elections to legitimize the exercise of political power; number 3, rule of law; number 4, participation of various social, economic, cultural, and professional groups in the process of governance; number 5, bureaucratic accountability; number 6, independence of judiciary; number 7, freedom of information; number 8, transparency; number 9, effective and efficient administrative system; number 10, cooperation between the civil society and government. Now I move to the next international organization named as OECD, which has also identified 4 major components of good governance. OECD stands for Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. The 4 major components of good governance according to OECD are: number 1, legitimacy of the government; number 2, accountability of the political and official elements of government; number 3, competence of the government to make policies and deliver services; number 4, rule of law and respect for human rights. Now, I move to the next international organization, which has also identified 8 major features of good governance. The international organization is UNESCAP, UNESCAP, United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and Pacific. The 8 major features are: number 1, participatory; number 2, consensus oriented; number 3, accountable; number 4, transparent; number 5, responsive; number 6, effective and efficient; number 7, equitable and inclusive; number 8, rule of law. Now, I move to the next international organization, UNDP, which published a document in the year 1997 titled as Governance and Sustainable Human Development. It enunciated a set of few principles which are grouped under 5 broad themes. Number 1, legitimacy and voice; number 2, direction; number 3, performance; number 4, accountability; number 5, fairness. Now, I move to the next report on human development in South Asia, the Crisis of Governance, Human Development Center, 1999. This report lays emphasis on human governance. It defines human governance as good governance dedicated to secure human development. Governance must be, number one, seen by people as participatory and in their own interest ownership. Number two, conducive to building of a society in which no one feels humiliated. That is decency. Number three, embodied in structures which are transparent and accountable to the owners, that is the people. That is known as accountability. Human governance is a powerful concept which, if implemented, can help in enriching the life of the common people and lay the basis for fairer and more just societies in which human, political, and economic rights of all people are protected and their freedom of choice expanded. This report on human development in South Asia visualizes three dimensions of governance which brings about human development. They are political governance, economic governance, and civil governance. Now, I will discuss political governance. The characteristics of a good political governance are: number one, regular, free, and fair elections with participation in form of multi-party democracy. Number two, an impartial judiciary protected by constitutional separation of powers. Number three, a constitution not easily amendable by any of the branches of government. Number four, accountability and transparency of elected representatives and public officials. Now I will discuss economic governance. The definition of good economic governance seeks an equitable outcome to the economic processes. The following are the basis for economic governance. Number one, macroeconomic stability. That is balanced budget, low inflation, stable exchange rate with the help of an independent central bank. Number two, taxes and subsidies must be progressive. Number three, sufficient budgetary allocations to social priority areas such as basic education, primary health care, safe drinking water, adequate nutrition, family planning services, microcredit schemes. Number four, adequate job creation. Now I will discuss civil governance. Number one, protecting basic human rights, particularly the rights of the disadvantaged members of society. Number two, securing fundamental, political, economic, and human rights for all. Now, I will discuss effective participation for good governance. The two major aspects of developing social capital and social norms and trust which help people in networking with each other. Number two, people share values, concerns with help of such networks, and this consequently transforms into group energy. Number three, this group energy then helps to hold the local authority accountable for delivering of services and development. Number four, in this way, social capital can be used to achieve good governance. Both the people and the governing agencies should act mutually to develop trust and norms, that is social capital. Number five, effective participation in a society is not possible if the normative values are not adhered to. Number 6. Local stakeholders, those who are in networks with the social capital, have to be included in consultations for development of policies of the government that can ensure effective participation of the people. Now, I move to the next topic, the elements of good governance. The essential features of good governance are: number 1, participation; number 2, transparency; number 3, accountability; number 4, rule of law; number 5, inclusiveness; number 6, responsiveness; number 7, consensus oriented. Now, the forms of good governance. The various forms of good governance are: number 1, catalytic government; number 2, community-owned government; number 3, compatible government; number 4, mission-driven government; number 5, result-oriented government; number 6, customer-driven government; number 7, enterprising government; number 8, anticipatory government; number 9, decentralized government; number 10, market-oriented government. Before I sign off, please remain tuned for our next videos. Thank you.